Welcome back to Women's Wealth, The Middle Way, the show that answers your questions about work, money, and family. My name is Susan McGlory Michael, and I am the CEO and founder of Glen Eagle, a wealth management firm in New Jersey.
My name's Carol Ann Fernandez, and I'm the COO of Glen Eagle, and I'm really excited today to be joined by our special guest, Jennifer Serino, who's the founder and CEO of My Hot Lunchbox. In 2011, Jen turned her need for easy school lunches into a thriving business that helps parents and schools. Her company now supports school fundraising and fights childhood hunger through donations to No Kid Hungry. So welcome, Jennifer.
Thanks, Carol Ann. I appreciate you having me on.
We're excited to hear your story today. We can start with you telling our listeners a little bit about yourself and what inspired you to even start My Hot Lunchbox.
Sure. My name is Jen Serino. I'm the founder of My Hot Lunchbox. I think really at the heart, I'm an innovator and really a problem solver. My husband kind of teases me because I'm always coming up with ideas to make life a little easier and more efficient for humans. My inspiration for this particular idea actually came from a very personal experience. My husband and I had just welcomed our third child, and I, at that point, found myself juggling the demands of packing lunches for our two school-age children. I was also caring for a newborn and also returning to work. So that was a really hectic time in our life. And I thought there has to be a better way, a better solution for busy parents like myself who their child goes to a school that doesn't have a full cafeteria. I noticed that a lot of other independent schools struggled with this, and other parents struggled to provide quality meals, variety of meals. And this often results in kids throwing their lunch in the trash, skipping a meal, or opting for not the greatest options. So I saw an opportunity to partner with local restaurants, bring the community kind of inside the school, where a lot of restaurateurs are also parents at schools, but it also allowed children to have brand recognition around these restaurants, whether they're a chain restaurant or a mom and pop restaurant. Kids are likely to eat things that they are familiar with. And so a lot of these restaurants were places that parents would take the kids on the weekends and stuff. It was really easy sell once we were able to introduce it to the schools.
Wow, that's really interesting. And as someone who has 3 little ones, I definitely understand the hard part of trying to get lunches for schools ready. It is, I think, every parent's challenge at night after working.
And you're always wondering, are they going to eat it?
Exactly, yeah. We have a joke because my oldest one brings it home, and the younger one, I think, is more excited to see what's left in the lunchbox every night. So you had this great idea, and you're bringing in restaurants, which is awesome. How did you transform that into now a profitable company? What was the thought process behind doing that, or how to get that up and going?
I think in some ways this was unintentional, but definitely became intentional as we grew. We definitely maintained low overhead costs. That was really critical, being that our role as in the business was more of a broker than, say, like a catering company cooking the food. We really had to be mindful of the overhead costs. I would say our innovative and creative minds driving that and constantly being able to adapt to things and pivot into things was a big part of that as well. I'm at heart, I love innovation. I love technology. My background is in industrial design. So I just love the way that people interact with things. And so I think that was a big part of that. And lastly, I have to brag on my team a little bit. We have outstanding customer service, and we have from day one. I mean, even my mindset when I was doing this on my own in the beginning was that's what mattered the most. It wasn't that I ever expected it to be flawless, but it was the transparency and allowing you to be relatable with them and them just knowing that we're behind whatever we do, regardless of the situation. I just feel like that has furthered helping us drive our growth without a lot of excessive marketing spend, because word of mouth referrals go really far. So I think
that's such a big part, an important part of a business is that customer service. And as you're saying, especially when you're first starting out with the marketing, to have word of mouth is great. One thing we had mentioned when I was introducing you was this No Kids Hungry and fighting childhood hunger. I'm just interested to hear how that partnership came about and kind of where that is now.
This is a mission very close to our hearts. We've been passionate about underserved students from the inception of the company. And while we obviously aren't a nonprofit and we do have to, be a profitable company in order to succeed, we've been mindful to balance that and try to take as much as we can and put it towards philanthropy in that specific area. One of the things we have been doing since day one is offering discounts essentially to schools with underserved students. So it's enabling them to purchase lunches at a reduced price. For that matter, they can also offer it sometimes to their parents for a reduced price or free. So that ensures that the financial constraints don't hinder the access that these families have to nutritious food for those students. Because some of these children, lunch is their only meal, literally, that they're getting all day long, which is terribly sad, but that was where that came from, that stemmed from. We also have begun recently to work to pair schools with local organizations to create more of a subsidized meal program. We're working closely with partners so that we can offer meals again, at a reduced cost or even free of charge to students who qualify. So it's more taking that to a whole nother level to try to get organizations involved in donating to these programs. And then as far as what you mentioned earlier, we do contribute annually to No Kid Hungry. That's still very important for us. That's the one way I think that we kind of take aim at a broader impact beyond just the schools that we serve.
I think it's so important and admirable that you guys are working so hard to help fight this huge issue of kids not having enough food, sadly. I'm just curious, how many schools are you guys working with now, and is it in a set area, or are you guys nationwide?
Yeah, that's a great question. We get that a lot. People often, when they hear about it, they're like, "Oh, so you just serve and we're located in North Carolina," and I'm like, "No, we can serve schools anywhere." So we're around 350 schools nationwide. And we just recently started serving in Canada. This year, we brought on our first school in Alaska. And last year, we brought on our first school in Hawaii. So
I think you need to start touring your schools, it sounds like.
We've been talking about it as a team. That's really funny you bring that up.
I appreciate you sharing so much. This is very interesting. We always like to ask one last question, which is some advice. So I'd be curious to hear, what would be your advice for maybe an entrepreneur who's looking to combine what you have, this idea of having a profitable business, because they're not a nonprofit, but also putting a purpose behind it?
To address even both of those, one of the first things that comes to my mind is that you have to start with something that you're very passionate about, that you have a genuine interest in, that when you get up in the morning, it truly excites you. And this is just going to really show in your work and inspiring others. Others see that in you. And it also will, in my opinion, help sustain you through the hard times. Every company goes through challenges. And if you have interest and enthusiasm about what you're doing, it makes those challenges easier to overcome and push through. The second thing, and I think this is obvious from my personal reflection on why I started the business, but look for a genuine need or a problem that others have and find ways to solve that problem. Not only does this really create a clear purpose within your business, but it also creates a market that might not already be there.
I think that's so important. I think a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we come up with an idea and we start out on it, and it's those opportunities and those needs that you discover as you start to unwrap it.
That's right. Yeah. One other thing that comes to mind as far as if I was talking to somebody that was starting out and had a great idea is, well, a couple of things actually. One is you have to be passionate about that, like we talked about, but your team should also have that passion. So creating that culture within your business that every single person in the company is understanding of your mission and feels equally passionate about it. It's just as important as them understanding profit. And then ensuring that every employee understands their contribution to the overall mission and making them a part of that financially and other ways as well. But if everybody's aligned around that, your team and the support that you're going to get from that team is going to be so much greater than if you're the only one in the company that's feeling this way. And then lastly, I just feel like being flexible again and innovative, being ready to adapt. We all understand, and I hate to even bring it up, but we all went through, a lot of businesses suffered through COVID. That's an extreme, obviously, of adaptation and change, but it does really give you a different mindset when you go through something like that as a company. And just taking that even to the granular level and being able to start and looking at things and saying, how can I be open to new ways of doing things?
That's great advice that you gave there. All the different pieces, especially around getting a team that's aligned and then also just being able to adapt, because I think it happens more often than we'd like to admit as entrepreneurs that you're constantly trying to pivot. Thank you so much for taking the time to share with us today. It sounds like a great company. I know a lot of our listeners and myself will be watching you guys and definitely looking for ways that we can help in helping kids hunger down the road.
Wonderful. Well, I'm happy to do it, and I really appreciate you having me on.
Thanks for tuning into today's episode of Women's Wealth, The Middle Way. Make sure to subscribe to us and leave a review on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, or your favorite podcast app. Join us for new episodes every other Wednesday. See you in 2 weeks.